welcome to the best band I ever played with. This is a podcast about people who play live music, not necessarily people who are famous for doing it, not necessarily people who do it as their main source of income, but people who go from pub to pub to small room, playing in front of relatively small crowds for relatively small amounts of money and a few cans of Red Stripe. These are people who are an unbelievably important part of the musical ecosystem of any place. But sadly, the COVID-19 pandemic has sort of enforced a pause on this kind of activity. So I thought it'd be nice to have a chat to people who normally do it and see what they've learned, see why they do it, and of course see who the best band they ever played with was. Originally from Plymouth, but now based in Brighton, my guest for this episode plays in a number of bands, from Tunnel Vision to BB Music, but he's best known for being the guitarist for the psych garage rock band School Disco. We chat about Brighton, why every band should add Falmouth to their touring schedule, novel items of band merch, and of course the best band that he ever played with. There's more from me at the end, but until then, please enjoy this conversation with Rory Lethbridge. What was the last gig you played?
The last gig I played was in Falmouth, at a place called the Fish Factory, and it was with my band School Disco. It was really, really good. It sold out like half an hour after doors with no pre-sale tickets. It was, to be honest, it was like a really awesome last show to have. It was rammed all night, and we played with one of my favourite band, Skinny Milk, and then another band who were like a local band called Face Paint played, who were really cool too, like garage rock band. It was really, really great. Yeah. I mean, like, anytime something sells out, it's always like a really awesome achievement. I mean, and everyone was super into it. It wasn't like 100 people who weren't bothered by us at all.
Yeah, I mean, because I think anyone who's done this for any length of time will know that there's quite a lot of times in which it's not like that at all.
And you play to like one man and his dog in a shed somewhere, or
I think I've been to Falmouth like once.
I love Falmouth. It's a really, really awesome place to play shows, like, because it's not on the touring circuit and it is that little bit far away. The reception there is always amazing, because I think they appreciate people making the effort to come down. So I would recommend to anyone, go down there and play, because like the promoters are really great and eager and keen to have you, and the punters are always really keen to have you, and they're wild most of the time. So it's really, really fun. And we've made some great friends down there now from playing and hanging out and all that good stuff. It's one of my favourite places to play for, definitely.
Yeah, it does seem like there's... And yeah, you're right. I guess it's so... I mean, anything Cornwall related often gives off the impression of just being like just so far away, and like, but I think it's never really like in people's minds as much as it should be, because I mean Falmouth it's a very nice place to visit.
All of Cornwall is extremely beautiful.
Yeah,
and very nice.
Catch it on a sunny day, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just worth going for the odd chance that it's overcast at the least, and you can just go to the beach and be on a beach for a bit. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's great. And there seems to be quite an interesting like bubble of music coming out of there, I guess. Do you think that's linked to the... Well, I feel like it's fairly linked to the university down there, right? Yeah, definitely. There's always, it's ended up being quite a transient place, and there's, a big load of people coming and then going. So there's always awesome bands coming out of there, even more so than other places. I mean, I think the downside of that is that, a lot of really great bands start and end after a year or two or three because of that. But the ones that stick it out generally are pretty amazing. There is a lot of talent down there. For sure. And I think the university and the facilities at the university are a big part of that. They're really amazing facilities from what I've seen and heard, for definite.
Yeah, I was chatting to, in doing this, I was chatting to a friend of mine who's from Hull, and he spoke about how he felt there were lots of really good bands coming out of Hull, but they'd never get out of Hull. Do you think Falmouth's got that kind of issue?
I think the Southwest in general has that kind of issue.
Right.
I'm from Plymouth originally, which is 2 hours from Falmouth, which is just inside Devon, and Plymouth has that effect. So I think the further into the Southwest you get, the worse it gets. And then by the time you get to Bristol or whatever, you don't have that problem as much. But yeah, Falmouth's amazing. The big question at the end, probably, I think my top answer is a Falmouth band. So that kind of shows how great it is, and I guess how much of an effect that it's had on me. I live in Brighton now, and we're a Brighton. My band School Disco is a Brighton based band, and the other bands I play in are Brighton based, and that is again, it's got an amazing live music scene. It's really great, but it's totally a world away from what Falmouth is like. In many ways, it's maybe a little less DIY, maybe a bit more professional, but that's a good and a bad thing in some ways.
I think it's places where scenes develop that are slightly cut off are always quite interesting to look at.
I definitely think that as well.
I'd recommend checking out a documentary called, I think it's called The City is an Island or something. And it's about the underground scene in Montreal from a few years ago.
Awesome.
And it plays upon the scene that developed among English speaking people in French speaking city that is Montreal, and plays upon their sort of distance from everything else, and sort of relates what they're doing through that prism. So
I'm gonna check that out. It sounds really, really interesting.
Yeah, and there's a nice little 2-minute bit of a young Matt DeMarco just pottering about. So I think when a 15-year-old me loved it for that reason.
I think documentaries like that always capture a time and a place are always really good and interesting anyway. My favorite one is Good Night Brooklyn. Have you seen that?
I haven't, no.
It's about the Deaf Boy Audio DIY space that happened, generated a really great sort of scene around it, and then had loads of bands come through who are now really popular, like Future Islands and OCs and Place to Bury Strangers, and then got I think Vice moved in upstairs and then basically forced them out, which is really sad, but it's such a interesting watch of how this kind of the small guy loses, as often happens, but the scene that develops in that space while it happens is almost legendary in some circles now, I think.
Yeah.
And the way the people really revere that time and place. awesome.
Yeah, I was shockingly bad at getting out of the house though, so I didn't see a huge amount, but did see some good stuff. There's some really good venues in Brighton.
There's some amazing venues in Brighton. We are spoilt.
Yeah.
We are absolutely spoilt. Like, Plymouth is basically the same size and has 2 venues, and Brighton feels like it has a venue on every corner.
Yeah.
Or if not, it's a designated venue. They'll probably have live music there. It's a really awesome, I find it a very inspiring place a lot of the time. And it just seems like there's always stuff, or there was before, COVID. There always stuff going on, to the point where it was almost exhausting. Or some nights there would be like 3 or 4 things on that you want to go and see, and you've just got to pick one, or maybe 2 you can run between if they're close enough.
Yeah.
So, we're so lucky.
What's your favourite Brighton venue?
My favourite Brighton venue is probably the Green Door Store or the Hope and Ruin. Towards the end, just before the first lockdown happened, I was going to the Hope and Ruin a lot, but during my first couple of years in Brighton, I was around the Green Door Store and playing at the Green Door Store quite a lot. I think you might have noticed from that Facebook.
Yeah, it comes up.
Yes, comes up quite a lot. Yeah, and they've been really, really great to us as well. Like, they put us on their like big weekend festival, 234, and my other band played their like birthday party in January, which is another one of their big nights. So they're really, really good to us as a group of bands, sort of. So playing quite a few bands in Brighton now, which is great. Or I did.
Yeah.
So sad having to say I did, because
in peace. I refer to it as in peacetime.
Yeah, I quite like that. I noticed that from one of your other podcasts. I think it's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah. Because there's always so much like war. I mean, I don't know. Like, people. I think it's fair to say that people in this country are quite obsessed with war language.
Definitely.
And like, it's always the nurses on the front line. It's never to mention like actual fucking wars. And I mean, we're in November now, so I think we've just passed Where's Your Poppy season.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a big part of the whole British ideology, regardless of what history might have actually happened and who might have helped us. We like to think it was the plucky little British bulldog, whatever.
Yeah.
But,
and I think
I think definitely we're maybe the generation above us, or 2 generations above us anyway. I don't know. I'm not particularly into that kind of
don't think
ideology of Britishness.
Yeah, it's all very mythological, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's quite hard to relate to, at least for me. And
I find it very hard to relate to as well.
Yeah, it's quite fun to in peacetime.
Yeah,
back when the birds sang and. Hi there, hope you're enjoying the chat with Rory. Just wanted to say something real quick. Don't worry, it's not an advert, although obviously if anyone wants to advertise, that's completely fine by me. Get in touch. But just before we get back to the chat with Rory, I wanted to say something real quick. Obviously the pandemic's been a really tough time for a lot of small businesses. Relevant to this podcast is small music venues that haven't really been able to cope very well financially, what with not being able to get as many people in the door. The government has given a bit of money, which is, very generous of them, but there's still a number of venues out there that, for whatever reason, didn't qualify for that funding. The Music Venue Trust has made a list of about 30 of these venues, which they say are at risk of permanent closure due to the pandemic. On this list are some venues that I've got absolutely no idea why they're not being earmarked for being saved. These are places like, I live in London, So the Lexington up in Islington, a legendary place. Brixton Windmill as well. And if you just take those two places by themselves and look at the music that's been able to thrive because of being able to play there, you just see straight away what we're at risk of losing. And there's 28 more of these places across the entire country that need help. So please go to crowdfunder.co.uk/saveourvenues red list for the full list. Please give what you can, because frankly it would be an absolute tragedy if these places were just left to close. It would do so much damage to the musical ecosystem of this country. Please just give whatever you can, because some of these places are great, and I'd frankly quite like to go to them once everything goes back to normal. So crowdfunder.co.uk/saveourvenues red list, or check out the Music Venues Trust. Give what you can. And now back to the podcast. In which I believe you mention some stuff about the plight of venues closing down and whatever. But one thing that seemed quite interesting to me was you said that a big part of losing venues would be the knock-on effect of like selling merch. And so I just wanted to take this point to quickly mention that School Disco sports socks are probably my favourite band merch that I've seen in a while.
Well, thank you very much. Funny enough,
sale?
They're still on sale, but we've got loads. I mean, we bought the minimum order. We always kind of wanted to do socks. We thought it was kind of like a bit funny, but also kind of cool. And they're like, from a business perspective, they're quite a low cost item to buy. Like £5 is about the same price as a pint in Brighton. So we thought they would do quite well at gigs. We had to buy 100 pairs because that was minimum order, which meant it was kind of a big chunk of outlay. And we bought them on the guise that we were going to do a European tour and we were going to end up playing lots of shows, because we've just been working on the second album and we were going to hopefully tour it whenever that happens. So I literally have like about 80 pairs of socks in my flat at the moment. So yeah, if you want a pair, please pick them up. I normally end up like writing people a nice note and maybe chucking an extra pair if you're lucky and I'm feeling nice.
Nice. But maybe I'll get a pair. They do look good. I do need some socks as well. So.
I'm not actually wearing them today. I've got a few pairs that I wear. They are very good and very comfy, and we've had a lot of really great feedback from them. I'm really happy with how they came out. They came out way better than I was hoping, if I'm honest. But yeah, that's like, I mean, we're lucky as a band that we have, with the first album coming out, and the labels we worked with, we kind of opened up these kind of pockets of people all over the world that are interested in school disco. Partly, I think, because of the vinyl thing, and people are really into vinyl collecting and stuff, which I'm really grateful and thankful for everyone who worked on that with us. So like, yeah, it's weird that as a band we do kind of quite well on merch and sell merch fairly regularly, but to all manner of weird places, that some of which we've never even played. Like the other month I was sending merch off to Australia.
Wow.
I've sent quite a bit of merch to America, and we've obviously never played in either of those two places, so we're pretty lucky. And it's very, very humbling, I'd say. Well, I'm very proud that we have people that are interested enough in us to either want to talk to us on a podcast or want to buy want to buy a t-shirt or a pair of socks or whatever. So, and it's really great, and it means that we can do things like make more music, or play more shows, which is, the whole reason we do it. So thanks everyone, basically.
Schooldisco.bandcamp.com. Pick up those School Disco sports socks now.
Yeah, and we're going to do a big sale on the next Bandcamp Friday, I think. So
keep your eyes peeled.
Save your pocket money and we'll see what happens.
Finally, a Bandcamp Friday I can look forward to.
Awesome. Have you not been indulging?
Oh, no. Not for a while. I think I did on the first couple, and then it became one of those things that you see. I was like, oh, it's Friday again.
Oh, it's the first Friday of the month.
Oh, how time flies.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? What's some other good merch you've seen around?
I saw a band called Sunflowers from Portugal, and they had grinders and papers and all sorts. And that was kind of cool if you're into that. I saw a band or a guy play. He supported this disco band called, I can never get the name right. They're called Klaus, John and Grobe or something. They're Swedish or from that part of the world. I probably got that all wrong, but he had cologne and his own pheromone. Is that what's called? Your scent that you give off. He had
pheromone.
Yeah. And that was very weird, but also kind of interesting and great. I mean, I don't think that's an item I'd ever purchase, but it was funny and cool.
I like that. That's creative.
Yeah, he was kind of a Donny Benet kind of guy, where he was kind of selling sex, but or a sleazy version of himself.
Yeah.
So it kind of fitted in with all of that, so it was kind of amusing, but I don't know who would buy that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's not something I'd buy at a merch stand. Yeah.
It's a talking point.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. I'd like to know how many he sells.
That would be,
It'd be very interesting.
I want to know what the overheads are on that.
Yeah.
What's the margin?
Well, who do you even get to make that?
Yeah.
It was hard enough. It was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard enough to find socks, to be honest.
Yeah. Fair. No, I'm definitely gonna order some socks. Just looking at them now, speaking to me. It must be pretty cool to think that there's a pair of those walking around Australia.
Yeah, it is very strange. Kind of one of the strangest things that happened like that was with the vinyl thing. We did 3 different variants because there was 3 different record labels involved, and some guy in America tracked down all 3 copies and bought all 3 copies and just sent us a photo on Instagram and was like, hey, I've bought 3 copies of your album. And I was like, wow, thanks for loving the album that much that you spent that much money on it. And I keep not sending it, but I'm gonna send him a free t-shirt, because it's
that's
it's
worth it.
Yeah, I'll probably end up selling him a t-shirt and some socks and whatever, because thank you, basically. He didn't have to do that, and he went the extra mile. I really, really appreciate anyone who's that interested in us.
Yeah. Wow. That must be cool.
Yeah, it's really makes my week when you get Instagram posts of people hey, I'm listening to this vinyl I bought, or I've got this,
Yeah.
Even seeing my friends wear my band's t-shirt makes me really happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice to feel like, you know, what you're doing is worth it to someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember once I put some, I made some beats and just stuck them up on Bandcamp. And then one day I got an email from like this teenage girl in Singapore, which was like, it was just like pretty sad today and watched loads of BoJack Horseman. And then I was scrolling through the internet and found this, and it was really nice. Thank you.
Yeah, it makes you weak, doesn't it? It's so nice.
Yeah, that is so nice. Just like really fills you up with.
Yeah, because even
happiness.
like I listen to a lot of music, and I'm sure you listen to a lot of music, but it's not often that I feel compelled enough to contact someone about how great something was that I've listened to.
Yeah.
So
maybe we should do it more.
yeah, we should do it more, because it does, you know,
Yeah.
it does make people's day from experience. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
maybe everyone should do that more. Go and tell someone that you appreciate them.
Yeah, that's it. Everyone, all 14 people listening. 14 would be good. Next time you're listening to some music, send that artist a nice little email. I mean,
Yeah.
unless it's like, I don't know, I feel like Beyonce, or if you're listening to some Beyonce, maybe don't bother, but I know that School Disco would appreciate it.
We
So
definitely would
next time-
appreciate it.
Yeah, you know, next time you're listening to one of the little guys, I mean, you know, I don't mean that.
We are the little guys. We're not Beyonce, are we?
Rory, you've played a bunch of gigs around the place. But who would you say is the best band that you ever played with?
So there's like a bunch of honourable mentions who are Holiday Ghosts. Have you ever seen them? Is that like a
The Holiday Ghosts.
Yeah, or Holiday Ghosts. Yeah, they are like an awesome rock and roll band, and it's just one of the only bands that I see that like just gets people just straight up dancing, rather than like trying to mosh and
It's a nice little nod.
yeah, just like
Holding my
jumping
beer.
around. Yeah. So they're amazing, like just great catchy tunes, an awesome kind of 60s rock and roll vibe.
Right.
Who else? I did write it down because I knew I was gonna freeze on this. So bear with me, because you can hear me rustle my paper. Frankie and the Witchfingers, who are like an LA band we played with. They were amazing, way better than I thought they were going to be. There's another Brighton band called Skinny Milk, who I mentioned previously, who are amazing every time. They're like one of those bands where it's like, I wish I wrote those songs.
Yeah.
Kind of the biggest band we ever played with was Wolf Alice,
Oh,
which was kind of,
heard of them?
yeah, just before their second album came out, and it's way, way better than I thought it was going to be. Like, I'm not super into them, but I really enjoyed it, and I guess that's probably why they're as popular as they are.
Yeah.
And then, but like my favorite ever band that, well, the best band we played with, in my opinion, is definitely Tinnedfruit, who are a Falmouth band. And the first time we saw them was, we played it with them in a flat above the high street. And it was like we played and it was really good, and we did our thing. And we were like, yeah, go us. And then they came on and just blew us out of the water. And it was like, holy hell, these guys are amazing. And they're still, every time that we played with them, because we now become really good friends with them, they still just, I feel like they just blow us out of the water every time. They're just amazing. And you definitely should go and check out their music, because it's all really amazing, great, heavy pop tunes.
Yeah, Tinnedfruit. I checked some out.
Yeah.
And some huge stonking
Yeah.
guitars in there.
But it's like really heavy, great guitars, but with really awesome pop melodies.
Yeah.
Catchy tunes.
Yeah. It's fantastic. It's sort of, I can see you guys and them working on a bill very well together. Like you sort of sound like you're from a similar part of the audio universe.
Yeah, knowing them, I know we've got some similar influences, and I think we wear them in different ways, which is awesome and interesting. And I mean, they definitely influence us. So there's also that. Yeah, they're a really amazing band.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
I definitely urge everyone to go and listen to it if they haven't.
I would like to shout out their cover of Cars by Gary Newman on the
Root Note.
The Root Note section.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
That. Yeah. Also, Tinnedfruit is a good name.
Yeah.
I like good name. I think School Disco is a good name, by the way.
Thank you. I didn't come up with it.
Oh, well, congrats to whoever did. I'm not going to ask like where it came from, because I feel like those questions are always, they never get very good answers, do they?
No, and like I think every time I tell it, it changes slightly. So
yeah. It's just, I think people, you see it a lot in like in
enemy interviews of,
it's like, oh, what does that band name mean? And it's like, because the answer's always something just like, oh, I thought it was a funny word.
Yeah, it was like, so we were just sat in a room trying to think of a band name, and our bassist came up with it, and we thought it was good. And that's
like that is
pretty much how it happens all the time. But
like 98%
people try and
of the
like
time.
Spice it up a bit.
Whenever you hear a good story about it, you don't believe it. Like the one that I don't believe is the Pixies. Are apparently called the Pixies because like they were flicking through a dictionary and just sticking their finger down, and they stuck their finger down on the word pixie. And I was like, I don't think that's happened. I don't believe that at all.
I think maybe I want that to happen, though. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a bit of me that's gonna allow it.
Yeah, like it's definitely. I think that's the story that the question wants.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's not the story the question
Maybe
gets.
that is the story that we also want, though.
I think so, yeah. An element that... It'd be nice to think there's like an element of destiny to all of this.
I mean, I guess like David Bowie apparently wrote all those songs by like ripping up bits of paper. And so, again, maybe we want that to happen.
I want that to happen.
Yeah, same.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Rory Lethbridge of School Disco. If you like the sound of Rory and you want to check out more of his stuff, School Disco's got a bunch of music online on Spotify, Bandcamp, etc. And I think they've got some new music on the way, so please check it out. If you like the OCs, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, that kind of thing, it's right up your street. It's proper good. Tinnedfruit are the best band that Rory ever played with, and they're also proper good. Again, if you like the OCs, etc., that kind of thing, check them out. There are, as ever, links in the description. Also, pick up some of his socks because they look pretty fly. They're only £5, and he might write you a nice little note. The podcast and all the music in it were recorded by me, Billy Pratt. The cover art was done by Isaac Gray. If you like the podcast, why don't you share it with someone? Tell someone to listen to it. Leave a comment. Let me know what you liked. Tell me what you didn't like. I'm quite interested in knowing. Until the next time, have a lovely day, and see you later.